My name is Sean Thomas, and I'm the author of Be More Today, a 40-day guide to a better version of you. As doctor of physical therapy, I've seen thousands of people do great things. They came to me with ailments, physical ailments, pain, issues, and they got through them, all because they decided in their mind they were going to do it. And I guarantee you, if you just trust the process and be persistent, you too can be the best version of you.
Welcome to the Be More Today show. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our show today. Now, let's hear it from our host, Dr. Sean Thomas.
What's going on, folks? What's going on? It's your boy here, Dr. Sean Thomas, back in the building with the Be More Today show. We are back in the building, folks. We are here officially now, yes, in the month of May, and enjoying all the sunshine that is here. Happy to be alive and happy to continue to nix and fix in 2026. That's been our theme all year, and we've been cutting some things out and fixing some things in our lives just to be more today. And now our 7th season of the Be More Today show, and this has been a journey. Seeing so many people gravitate and like and appreciate my 2 books, Be More Today and Project More, still out there on Amazon. So go out there and check those books out. And our Steps of Greatness Challenge just ended for the month of May, and super excited for our winners who went out there, and people are logging in between 400,000 steps and 1,000,000 steps in 40 days. Incredible. Shout out to all those who are part of the challenge. We'll have another challenge again in the springtime, so stay tuned for that. But thank you for being a part of it. It's been great journey for everyone, and we will kick that off again in July. Sign up will start again in June, so you got some time. But the Be More Today show continues to grow, now heard in 123 countries. I said that right. 123 countries, over 80,000 downloads. Again, thanks for your love and support. The show continues to grow. And if you want to follow us on Instagram, BeMoreToday.show, BeMoreToday.pt, and your boy here at Dr. Sean Thomas, I greatly appreciate it. We have our sponsors. I got to say thank you to our sponsors as always. Spy Belt, the best running belt in the business. Kim Overton and her team in Texas does a great job with a great product. And I rock my Spy Belts everywhere that I go. So if you're looking for the best running belt in the business, something that will not slide when you're running around and will continue to keep all your things, including your phone and personal items, intact, check out spybelt.com for all the latest Spy Belt merchandise. You will not be disappointed. Shout out to our provider for physical therapy, Jag Physical Therapy. As always, the place that I love and the place where I continue to be one of the ones who helps others get back the life that they love. Check out jagpt.com for all your PT needs, athletic training needs, occupational therapy needs. We are the ones who do the best in the Northeast, the tri-state area. So check us out and be a part of the Jag family. And of course, our monthly patrons, I appreciate you guys so much for being a part of the show. It never goes unnoticed. My quote for today is very simple as always. Every challenge has a lesson. Shift your perspective, take your power back, and change and grow while you go through it. Every challenge has a lesson. Shift your perspective, take your power back, and grow through it while you go through it. Listen, this has been a year where I've tried to do a lot of new things. The Boston Marathon was a new thing. The Abbott 6 World Marathons finished. That was a new thing. Fundraising $9,500 was a new thing for me. And, I learned so many things in these lessons, in these challenges. And some challenges are very, very uplifting. Some challenges, inspire you and encourage you and help you to be better in other regards. And you learn from those challenges. And some challenges come out of the blue. Some challenges hit you smack in the face and they're not expected, but they still give you a chance to learn a lesson. They still give you a chance to shift your perspective. They still give you a chance to take your power back and to grow in it and through it while you're going through it. And I was thinking about who I can bring on the show today to talk about the challenges that they've gone through in this life. We talk about challenges all the time, like challenges that we actually want to put ourselves through, right? Like Spartan races and these runs, these tough runs, the high rocks. I have high rocks this month. All these things that you can actually pay for and arrange yourself to go through a challenge. But sometimes challenges come and they're challenges that you don't expect, but they still make you stronger in the end. And my guest on the show today is the embodiment of that. He is a former colleague of mine, and I can still say colleague because we're in the same field, although he's in a different state of mind. He's further away than many of us are in Florida, but he's doing great work, still treating patients and continuing to be a healing force in his community. And he has a very special story and a very, very special purpose for being on the show today. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, pets included, please welcome to the stage my friend and the man who I can say inspires me to be more today, my guy, Mr. Anthony Medina. Anthony, what is going on? How are you? Welcome to Be More Today's show. What's good?
I'm doing okay, Sean. I'm doing okay. Thank you so much for having me, giving me the opportunity to speak out about some very important topics that not only to, my family, but so many others out there.
Listen, it's been a pleasure. I know we've been trying to play phone tag for a while getting this done, but I was determined to make this happen. We actually were talking about this last year. And what happened was, truth be told, my dad got sick and had to have a heart transplant. And we had to postpone a couple of things, and you had stuff going on with your family, and we had to postpone a couple of things as well. So, but I think today is special for a number of reasons because we're in the month of May, and May is a very special month. So, Anthony, people may not know you and I are both in the PT world, so we treat patients and we continue to heal people in various ways, and we love doing that. That's how we met. We met back at one-on-one, Jack Physical Therapy now, but AKA one-on-one back in the day. And you were actually at the office that I'm currently at before me. So, I just wanted to say it was a short stint of time that we had together, but it was a a time that I still remember very, very vividly. And the time that I remember at least coming into Brooklyn for the first time working, you welcomed me with open arms, and you welcomed me along with that team that was in that Georgetown office where I still am and have been for the last 14 years. Um, the amount of love that I felt from you guys when I came into there, I've continued to keep that same culture in that office. And the office has been thriving for the last 14 years as a result of people like you and others who were there when I got there. So I just wanted to say thank you for your kindness, for your professionalism, and just for being one of the pillars when I was coming into the industry at that time. You really made me feel welcome, and I've never, ever forgotten that. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Those are some very kind words, Sean. I still remember the day that you came in for the interview and just seeing how you presented yourself and you just had this energy, man. You're just an extremely, extremely positive person, man.
Well, listen, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you sharing that. And listen, you have a very special and specific story, and I'm going to let you tell it the way you want to tell it. So, from the foundations you've done to this month being Brain Tumor Awareness Month, and that's why I have my gray on. I see you have your gray on too. Talk to listeners about what has been going on in your life the last couple of years and why we should be a little more cognizant and caring about this month in particular.
So back in 2020, my wife and me welcomed our first child, Brooklyn. She was born during COVID, which is a very difficult time to bring a baby into the world, very stressful. Um, she was developing great. She was developing all the qualities that you want in your child. She was loving, intelligent, curious. As the months progressed in 2023, we came to about April. She was displaying some changes to her eye. Specifically, one of her eyes started to deviate towards the center. My wife and me initially kind of played it off as potentially being a lazy eye. She then started to compensate with that by tilting her head to the side a bit. Within that first week that we noticed that, my wife was able to get her in to see an ophthalmologist at one of the local hospitals here. During that time, there was nothing else going on as far as symptoms go. That morning of the appointment, the eye doctor checks her vision out. Everything checked out. She's like, she has 20/20 vision, but can I see her walk? And
Mm,
before that, like I said, nothing else was going on. At that moment in the doctor's office, she was having a really difficult time balancing herself while walking. The eye doctor called in a number of other different team members from the office. They convened, told my wife that she wanted her to have a stat MRI. That they'd be kind of calling her in a couple of hours or so with further instructions. My wife left with Brooklyn from the office. Not 15, 20 minutes after they left, she got a phone call from the doctor, said, "Hey, I think I really need you to just head to the hospital now. I'm giving them a phone call now. They're going to get you in. They're going to admit you." I had to work that morning. I remember getting that phone call. I remember hearing the tone in my wife's voice. I remember specifically, I do home care, so I remember specifically the house that I was in front of, I still remember the patient's face of who I was supposed to treat. And she's like, "The doctor wants us to head to the hospital now. We need you to go." Didn't hesitate, obviously, just left, got to the hospital. They weren't able to do that MRI that day, but they had a bunch of different doctors coming in to evaluate her. And with each doctor that came in, you just saw the amount of concern on their face. Me being, someone with that medical background, being a PTA, my wife being a pediatric nurse, we knew what they were looking for. Didn't expect the news that we were going to get, but we had an idea of what they were going to potentially find. They did that MRI the following day. She was diagnosed April 28th with a diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma, also known as DIPG. It's a tumor that's located in the brainstem, specifically the pons. As you know, the pons is responsible for a whole bunch of vital operations that the body goes through, with breathing, coordination, eye movement, swallowing, temperature regulation, regulating her heartbeat. What makes this so difficult is there is no surgical intervention for this because it's located in the brainstem. It's very difficult to get to, but what also makes DIPG so bad is it's not a solid tumor. So the tumor cells kind of intertwine with the healthy tissue. So they're not, even if they were able to get to it, they're not able to actually separate the tumor. Yeah, man, we got that news April 28th. She came out of the MRI. We didn't know how children react with anesthesia, and it's a nightmare for the parents to witness. I can't imagine what the children go through because they come out confused, agitated. And I just remember her screaming the whole time coming out of anesthesia, trying to calm down, and the whole neurology team coming in and kind of breaking that news to us. And I just posted something recently during diagnosis day for her. Trauma imprints a lot of memory. When you go through stuff like this, your memory, you lose a lot of your memory. But there are certain things that you do remember, and I specifically remember hearing those words. Your daughter has an inoperable brain tumor known as DIPG, and after that, just everything went silent. I looked at my daughter. I could see her screaming, but I couldn't hear anything. I was so numb. Looking back, kind of the year after, I was like, I didn't really have a reaction when hearing this news, but I was just so numb from being in shock. We stayed the night at the hospital. Usually with these children, they immediately put them on dexamethasone steroids to kind of cut down on the inflammation around the tumor, kind of calm things down a bit. That did help as far as calming down her symptoms. Her coordination and balance improved slightly. We were given pretty much 4 different treatments to choose from. For DIPG, there is no FDA approved treatment for newly diagnosed children. So it's all clinical trials. For us, also what made it so difficult was her age. She was only 2.5 years old when she was diagnosed. Treatment extremely limited for younger children. And because they're clinical trials, there's no data to go off of. You kind of have to go off of word of mouth from other people who have gone through this. And unfortunately with DIPG, it's labeled as rare because the numbers are low. It's just, obviously when you're going through this, you don't want to hear that it's rare because of course it's happened to yourself, but only about 300 to 500 children are being diagnosed per year, so there's not a lot of data as far as how treatments are going. My best friend and his wife flew in to help us out with whatever, and his wife filled out an application for St. Jude. And St. Jude, they called us actually right away. They wanted to take her case. So we headed out. We left straight for St. Jude. My wife, Brooklyn, and my best friend's wife flew out there, and he drove with me with the car and all our whatever we were willing to take to Memphis, Tennessee. Very scary at the beginning, obviously. That first couple of days, it's meeting this doctor, meeting that doctor, having all kinds of tests, having to do another MRI because they wanted to do their own with their own MRI machine and such. We were at St. Jude for almost 100 days away from home. The treatment that she was on, the clinical trial, it's a repurposed drug. I believe it's used for initially lymphoma. The issue with DIPG also obviously is the blood-brain barrier. So it's very difficult for drugs to penetrate the blood-brain barrier in order to get to the cancer cells. This drug had shown promise in some lab studies. But unfortunately, it did not work for her. She went through 30 rounds of radiation. And because she was so young, obviously not understanding what's going on, she needed to be sedated 5 days a week in order to go through that radiation in order for her to stay still. So she unfortunately had to go 30 times of kind of waking up disoriented, confused, agitated. And at times, sometimes it took about 2.5 hours to completely calm her down and kind of bring her back, her realizing, it was mommy and daddy trying to comfort her. On her last radiation treatment, she developed hydrocephalus, which is swelling in the brain. The pressure was a lot for her. That morning, she turned gray. She was kind of coming in and out of consciousness. We rushed her to the brain tumor clinic at St. Jude. They did an emergency CT scan, did show the hydrocephalus. And with that, she unfortunately did need to have a shunt placed in to relieve that pressure in her brain. Take a step back. She also did have a biopsy done, which is not, for DIPG, it's not performed everywhere. A lot of surgeons are very uncomfortable doing biopsies in that part of the brain. So here we are, she's 2.5 years old, and now she's already had her head open twice, once for the biopsy and then once for the shunt. Because she had that hydrocephalus, we needed to stay a little bit longer at St. Jude. They wanted to monitor everything. She was done with radiation. So I think we spent an extra 2 weeks or so there, just kind of hanging out, seeing how everything would go as far as the pressure and her symptoms and such, and make sure it was safe for us to go back home. We finally came back home in July of 23. And then from there, unfortunately, it's common with a lot of kids. Unfortunately, these kids kind of just bounce back and forth to the hospital because of those same exact symptoms. They tried desperately to wean your child off of the dexamethasone. They don't want them to be on long term. I did not know the side effects of dexamethasone. My wife kind of prepped me. Agitation is one of them. Severe weight gain. She gained a lot of weight from that dexamethasone. At one point, it was quote unquote kind of a good thing because she wasn't eating because of the treatment. So she lost a lot of weight, and we were kind of on the verge of getting a feeding tube placed in order to get her that nourishment. They had to increase her dexamethasone at one point, which made her an eating machine. We just couldn't put the food in front of her fast enough. During all this time, also, she lost her ability to walk. She lost her ability to walk, I would say, probably in June. And she was never able to walk again on her own for the duration that she fought DIPG. She was able to walk a little bit with a walker and us holding both her hands and such, but she was never able to stand and walk on her own again, which it's difficult to see an older adult lose those abilities. But when you see a child go through that, everything that these children go through, it's just not the course that things are supposed to go through, you know? Yeah, so we came back home, bouncing back and forth to the hospital. She went through what in the DIPG community is known as the honeymoon period, where everything calms down from radiation and some of the drugs that they're on is improving those symptoms and everything is calm for a bit. That was kind of the end of September and October for her. We were able to go on her Make-A-Wish in November. Come December, around the holidays, I just noticed things were kind of off. Not drastically, but just looking at some of the changes in her face, her smile again, and her eyes, I just got a bad feeling that something might have been going on again. Each month we had to fly back to St. Jude to do checkups, and they did a new MRI every 3 months to see how everything was going. We had an MRI 3 days after Christmas on December 28th. And that's when we had found out that the tumor had grown significantly. When that happens now, you get disqualified from whatever clinical trial you're on. It's obviously not doing its job. And then we were forced to kind of look for what the next step was, which when you're told that information, your brain's fried the whole time anyway. But now you're placed with having to make another huge decision. With that as well, because she was on a treatment before, in order to start some new treatments, you have to go through a washout period. So that drug gets out of the system. Some treatments also disqualified kids if they've had previous surgeries. So she had that shunt placed in, so she got disqualified from a number of other treatments. And again, we dealt with her age again. So we ended up applying for a compassionate use of a drug at the time of clinical trial known as ONC201. We got approved for compassionate use for that. We had to head down this time to Miami. By the time we got down there, the date specifically escapes me, but it was about 2 weeks after that December 28th MRI. Things just had gotten so much worse so quick. The thing with DIPG is the radiation and treatment may be able to calm it down for a little bit, but when it does progress, it comes back with a vengeance. This time, both her eyes were having abnormal movements. Both eyes were pointing inwards. It was getting really difficult to kind of understand her speech as well. Swallowing became an issue. So during that time, she did need to get that feeding tube placed because it was becoming very dangerous for her to eat, aspirating. And during that time, which might have been the hardest, was seeing the amount of anxiety that she was going through as a 2.5-year-old. It got to the point where we couldn't get her outside even to go for a walk, like in her stroller and such, because she associated leaving the house with having to go back to the hospital and being poked and prodded and going through scans and stuff like that. So that was extremely, extremely difficult to watch. She was supposed to start another round of radiation while we were down there. The day before she was supposed to start the radiation, my wife Darlene and me had a discussion. We had spoken about it before our journey started, that quality of life would take precedent over everything else. We spoke, very difficult discussion, obviously, knowing how difficult the time she had going through radiation the first time. Radiation the second time, it's a fraction of the strength of the radiation. Also, it's not as long. But unfortunately, we came to the decision it probably wasn't the best idea in the world. Um, Looking back, you look back and you think we gave up, but we both know now that that's definitely not the case. Um, so we forego any additional treatment, and our goal at that time was to keep her at home. We were staying with my father-in-law down in Miami. The family came, all the family came down there, and at that point, it was a matter of keeping her comfortable. We had hospice care throughout the whole time. With children, you're able to have them on hospice even if they are getting treatment, which hospice gets a bad rap. It's extremely beneficial as far as even just supplies and all this. And towards the end, we had a crisis care nurse that came in and stayed in the home 24/7. My wife wanted to be the one to take care of her and administer the drugs and such, the morphine and the diazepam. It was too much for her to do. At that point, she needed to just be mom. She didn't need to be mom and the caretaker. During that time, the dosage that she was on for morphine, which we were told it was almost an adult dosage, it wasn't doing its job. She was still somewhat coming in and out of it, moaning and groaning. And at that point, we were really upset. Like, this is not our idea of hospice. And the doctor was very hesitant to increase her meds. Finally did. And that finally she was able to remain calm during that time. And she took her last breath on the morning of February 17th, 2024. The absolute worst thing, obviously, that can ever happen to a parent. There's nothing that you can read that can prepare you for something like this. And what came out of that, we stayed down there in Miami for a little bit. We came back home. And we have a very good friend of ours that she runs 5Ks and such. She does a lot of running. And she asked us if it would be okay if she can set up a memorial 5K in honor of Brooklyn. And we said, sure, go for it. But we're not going to be able to, do anything at this point with handling our grief and going through everything like that. And she said, I'm not asking you to do anything. I'll do everything. And that's when the Brooklyn Row Strong 5K was born. And we hold that every September, initially to raise money for DIPG research. The first year, we made just about $5,000. Last year, during our second annual 5K, we made $15,000. Come this year, in January, we started our own foundation, the Brooklyn's Petals of Hope Foundation. Veered a little bit away from what we raised the money for. Now we raise the money to assist the families going through the fight, whether it be getting children to treatment, paying for those bills that just keep coming. Also paying for some bereavement stuff for the parents who have lost children. It's very common for a household for only one parent to continue to work. It's something about a family can lose up to 40% of their total income in a home. 1 in 4 families, usually one parent stops working to stay at home and take care of their child. We were thankfully able to do that where we're at. But yeah, man, unfortunately, this tremendous heartbreak kind of pushed us in a direction on what our new purpose is in life. Yeah.
Anthony, first of all, I want to just say thank you for sharing that entire story. You know, it's one thing to see post, and I've been watching your story for a while now. Our mutual friend Tamara actually put me on to say, "Yo, are you looking at Anthony's feed?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" I checked it out, and I was like, "Oh, wait, what's happening?" That's when I reached out to you, just briefly, just to kind of, give some love, but um, and again, I have no idea what any of this feels like, but seeing it on social media is one thing, but hearing you say it like this is totally different. And I want to just again just give prayers and love to you and your wife, for all that you continue to do, for this cause and for the fight, and the sheer fact that even in your hurt, even in your struggle, even in your challenge and your experience, your initial thought is, let me help others who are going through the same thing. Let me help those who, have other children who are experiencing what we went through, because you know what it felt like. But some people, when they go through stuff, they say, you know what, this is crazy, and they wallow in that experience, and they don't want to give anything back to anyone else because they did with their own things. But you and your family and friends have turned this thing around now, where not only are you helping others, but you're raising money to go towards research so that this hopefully, prayerfully, won't happen to other families in the future. I think for me, that is what Be More Today is all about, right? You're using your setback to set others up for their comebacks and their futures. And I just want to say, I give you so many kudos for that. I salute you and your family for that. And
Thank you, Sean.
it's really incredible seeing the humanity that comes out of heartbreak, to help others in their potential times of need. Um, it's really special. It's really
Yeah, the DIPG community is the worst possible community to be a part of, but we have met so many amazing people during this journey. We had a number of different people take care of us during our journey. So, like I said, it's just our time to start giving back.
Yeah. I can imagine for your wife, this was challenging also because that's the specific realm of work that she does,
Right.
right? I mean, so my daughter, she had Sever's disease for her ankle. She sprained her ankle, sprained it again. For those who don't know what Sever's disease is, she had like a growth plate that was growing, and um, it's right by her Achilles tendon, so it's like really, really hard. And she had to wear a boot for weeks, and people are telling me, oh, she needs to get an X-ray, she needs to have an MRI, and I'm like, I'm her dad, I'm a PT, like I know what's going
Right.
on, like,
Right.
let me handle my daughter, please, but everyone has an opinion for what she should be doing, and I'm watching her, and I know what to do, with ice and stretch, whatever else, but seeing her go through it, I couldn't do anything
So it all
except
goes out the
for,
window.
yeah, I couldn't do anything. I was just sitting there just being like, well, I know what to do. I know she should be doing these things, but she's not ready to do it yet. So I'm just waiting for her to get better.
Right.
And you feel hopeless. And I'm sure, again, nowhere in comparison to what Brooklyn went through and what your family went through. But I'm sure that that same hopelessness was a feeling that you shared during this time, being like, we can't do anything in terms of making her feel better except just to be here for her
Right.
physically.
Right.
um and I'm just curious. Man, Anthony, I'm just curious. I'm sure you learned so many lessons in this, in terms of life, and in terms of even how you and your wife have probably gotten stronger, as a result. What are some of the lessons that you can share with anyone who's maybe going through a similar situation, or has experienced, or maybe hopefully won't experience, but maybe going through something that is as traumatic as this, where they too may feel hopeless? How do you give someone hope in a time where it feels like there is no hope to be found?
It's extremely easy to lose hope. Um, I'd be lying if I said I didn't lose hope a couple of times. But you have to hold on to hope with every fiber in your body, not only for yourself, but for your child. Um, Dr. Pierre was talking, I think it was your last episode, she was talking about how resilient children are. They are incredibly resilient, but they also pick up on their parents' vibes.
Mm,
That was a thing that we ran into a lot with Brooklyn, because there was a number of times where I mean, it's going to happen. You break down in front of your child, but you got to hold on to that hope, because then it gives them it gives them that strength to continue.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, man.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, I'm curious. I mean, I just happened to go online and see that May is Brain Tumor Awareness Month, and I have my gray on now, and I wore my gray with my girl dad on here for you. So I want you to see that, 'cause I know
The
you're a girl dad,
best.
no matter what happens, as am I. So what are some of the ways that people can support this movement? How can they support DIPG? How can they support the 5K? How can they support the Brooklyn's Petals of Hope? How can we support as a community what is happening, not just in your family with Brooklyn, but for others who are going through the same situation around the world?
We do have a website, brooklynspedalsofhope.org. People can read about Brooklyn's story more in depth there. We have a lot of educational stuff on DIPG on the website as well. Um, it really is a matter of sharing stories. You know, one person that shares a story, it gets exposed to potentially hundreds of other people. And those people, if 5 people share that story continues, the more people know. We had never heard of DIPG, and I would say 100% of the people who their child is diagnosed with DIPG have never heard of DIPG ever.
Right.
Um, it's literally awareness 365 for DIPG.
Mm. Mm. Have they found anything in terms of I mean, I know cancer is in general just wild, right? And tumors in general are also kind of crazy. But
Yeah.
have they found anything with the research in terms of some of the causes, some of the reasons why people may get it? Is it genetic? Because again, you and I've never heard of this before. I never heard of it until I started following your page. So, how does one even know that this may be a thing? Besides seeing the signs of something you saw early with her, early on, what other things would you be able to see as a possibility that this may be something that someone's going through?
There is, at the moment, they still do not know what causes DIPG. It's most commonly diagnosed first in kids between the ages of 5 and about 10. There are obviously the younger kids like Brooklyn who get diagnosed, and there's even adults who get diagnosed with it.
Mm,
A lot of times, the number one sign is some sort of abnormal eye movement or coordination issue. But we have even heard stories of even doctors not being familiar with DIPG in certain parts of the country.
mm,
So many of these kids also get misdiagnosed,
mm-hmm,
being told it's a stomach bug or it's vertigo and stuff like that. And
mm-hmm.
it's really, as a parent, you know your child, and you know when something truly is not right.
Yeah.
We kind of, again, quotes, got lucky with the eye doctor that we had, that she pushed further. And our feeling is that she had probably seen this before, that made her investigate a little further.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also the frustrating thing, is that they still don't know what's causing it. And with that, it's hard to develop a treatment to specifically target the cancer when you don't know what's potentially causing it. Because
Yeah.
as a parent, when you're told your child has cancer, the first thing is, okay, what did I potentially expose my
Yeah.
child to? What did they
Right.
eat?
Right.
Was it that time they fell and bumped their head on the floor or
Right.
something like that? And you get hard on yourself, because you think it's something that you, or even worse, is it something in my genetic makeup that I passed
Mm-hmm.
down to my child?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and research is really, really lacking at this point. It always comes down to funding,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Childhood cancer research as a whole gets about 8% of what the National Cancer Institute allocates for both adults and children.
Mm,
So that combined, childhood cancer gets 8% of that. DIPG gets less than a 0.5%
mm,
of that funding.
mm.
Um, the scientists and the doctors are out there that
Yeah.
want to find a cure, that want to develop better treatments. But unfortunately, it's the funding at this point.
Right. Gotcha. Well, listen, I'm gonna put once you send it to me, I'm gonna put the show notes on there. We're going to have the links for Brooklyn's Petals. We would definitely want to have that on there for sure. Petals of Hope. We want to have that on there, and any information that you can share with us for the 5K also, and anything you can share with us in terms of fundraising. We want to put all those links in the show notes so that listeners are aware that they can too go on there and support this movement to give more awareness for brain tumors, but also in particular for DIPG. I think it is incredible that you again have used this experience, this challenge, to shift your perspective, to take your power back, and to grow and help others as they're going through their own journeys. I mean, again, it is not the norm in today's society to see people help others in their own time of need. We've seen that across the country in many, many ways. But I do think it is admirable, and I will continue to say this every time I talk about you and talk to you, that your journey, your story is really a true testament of the love that parents have for their kids. Um, Even in the toughest times, and you've seen some dark days, it's just really admirable to see that um, the love that you have for Brooklyn is still probably even stronger now than it ever has been. And I watch your posts every single week, just trying to see, what's going on, and the love that I see in your posts is palpable, right? So I just want to say to you and your wife and your family, just hang in there, continue to be the pillars you have been in Florida. Continue to be the pillars you are in terms of sharing your actual gifts in terms of servitude to your patients. Um, and we're all praying here from the Be More Today family and onward that there will be a cure for this someday. I think things like this are unfortunate, but they are the things that help others to know that this is out there, and that we as a community of human beings can come together and say, let's put some money towards this to make sure that other families don't have to go through this in the future. So I salute you, Anthony Medina. I really do. And just know that we are here for you, and we will continue to share this news, at least on this platform, with the hope that others will share on the platforms as well.
Thank you, Sean. Really
No
appreciate that.
problem. No problem. Any final tips you want to share with the listeners? Any final tips or advice for those who, maybe in your same shoes, maybe parents who are going through the same journey that you're going through, or any advice you want to share for others who just are looking for ways that they can take their challenges and make them a lesson of hope for themselves as well.
The most important thing that I probably learned from this is how important time is.
Mm.
It's probably the most precious thing that we have in life is time. When you think about it, we had 9 months to fight this, and that's not nearly enough. We take time for granted. Especially nowadays, everything is so busy nowadays. It's just super important to really just kind of slow down, and especially I mean, if you have children, enjoy that time with them.
Yeah.
Enjoy that time with them before they get older and start hating you. But enjoy the time that you have with your kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, last question. I know her name is Brooklyn. What sparked the name? I always meant to ask you this. What sparked the name?
I have no idea what potentially sparked that name. Yeah, she was named after the best borough that I was born in, Brooklyn, New York, and she was just as tough as Brooklyn.
That's right. That's right. I figured as such. So, listen, Anthony, I appreciate you so much. I again pray for you and your family moving forward, and we will definitely share the show links, along with links for all your foundations and the 5K and everything else regarding DIPG. I just want to thank you again for being on the show today, and I love you, man. And I know we're far away, and you're in Florida, and we're here in Brooklyn, but just know that we're here for you no matter what.
Thank you, man. Love you too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Um, Folks, my heart is full. I mean, the story of resilience here is incredible. I don't know what you may be going through and what your challenges may be at this time, but hearing the challenges that Anthony shared with his family over the set with his daughter Brooklyn, and this challenging DIPG. It's amazing that the human spirit is so resilient to be able to bounce back from these things. And I don't know what's going on with you, but again, the quote stands strong, right? Every challenge has a lesson. Shift your perspective, take your power back, and grow through it while you go through it. It's exactly what Anthony and his family has been doing. Not only are they going through their own grief and their own experience with the IPG, but they're helping others who are going through it as well and raising money so that others don't have to experience the heartache that they go through. And from the 5Ks to other things, he's continuing to go out there and be a pillar for his community to be more today. So I implore you, no matter what you're going through, let's take these challenges and flip these scripts. Let's continue to go out there and, like Anthony said, cherish the time that we have. Put the phones down, put the work down. The work's going to be there. My notes are going to be there, right? Put that stuff down for a little bit. Spend time with your family members. Have the conversations. Enjoy the moments while we have them. And let's continue to all go out there and be more today. I'll see you guys next time. Enjoy the month of May and wear that gray as we all go gray in honor of Brain Tumor Awareness Month. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.